Michael Chammas, Danny Weidler. Things have calmed down a bit this week, or have they?
Hello, Adam. We're in a new studio. I feel a bit discombobulated.
Oh, we did.
the
We're
hell
in
is
the
that
studio
word?
sometimes.
Are we? Oh, I
You don't know what that means?
It's a big word.
I feel a little bit weird being in here.
Okay, it's
But I'm weird whenever I'm around you.
What's the word that you actually used?
Discombobulated.
That's a great word.
You have never heard that word before.
Not really.
They
No.
don't say it out west.
We
do they,
don't.
Jamie?
Yeah, we don't. That's not in our
That's-
vocab
that's-
out west.
that's-
What is
yeah.
discombobulated?
Don't ever worry.
I'm going to write it in my copy next week.
No, you're not. It'll get taken out.
It's how most people feel when they read
Can I
your
Google
stuff.
it and see what the explanation is in this Google
It's
guy?
how- when people read a Chammas article, they go, what the hell does that mean? I feel a bit
how do you spell it?
discombobulated.
Oh, there it is. Discombobulated. Confused and disconcerted. Okay. Oh, okay. I hope you're all right, mate.
Tell you who isn't. Lachlan Galvin. He knows exactly where his future is, and
Yes.
you got an interview with him,
Yep.
Danny. A few outlets were after it. I think Dave Riccio got a chat with him for a paper.
Yeah, he got the paper interview. I got the TV chat. Yeah.
Dogs. How'd you line that up? There would have been a big queue to do that. How'd
Just
you-
hard
Is that a
work.
crack?
What?
Oh, sorry.
I honestly want to know how he actually got the
Just
interview.
hard work. Hard work, and yeah, I was lucky
Nearly
enough
got
to get it.
derailed by someone last week.
No, he did well to get it.
He
well,
did.
well done, Danny. It was
did.
a good interview.
Good chat. He was a really impressive kid. I've had no time with Lachlan Galvin previously. I think I met him at a all-in press conference.
Did you meet him though?
Yes, I did meet him. He didn't remember meeting me, I'm sure, but I remember meeting him because I remember thinking how tall he was. And
That's exactly what Gus
he's
said in his
really.
pod.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
you
didn't-
taking
I
the piss
didn't-
out of your hero?
No, I didn't hear that.
That's gold.
He's a big kid. Why does he said that too? Did he?
What?
That's
pod?
exactly.
The Gus, six
Haven't you
tackles and
seen all the
Gus.
tweets when Lovesley last week, 100% footy,
No.
Gus said he had never met Lachlan Galvin. Everyone started putting up all these tweets with him in the podcast
Okay.
saying, I couldn't believe how big Lachlan Galvin was when I met him. now you're doing the same thing.
Well, when I met him, he was big. He was also very calm.
Yeah.
Like he walked into the room, shook my hand. There was no demands on you can't ask me this, you can't ask me that. I knew there were parameters with the interview because there are things that with the Tigers release that he can't talk about, can't be overly disparaging, I don't think. But it's more around the bullying stuff, which, you know, I'd love to get to the bottom of.
And you asked, but he flap batted it.
Yeah, I asked. Look, I spoke to him for 20 minutes. We ran 7 or so minutes on 100% footy, and we ran it on the news as well, about a 3-minute version. But you can't put in all 20 minutes, you know, and you can't have I can't talk about that answer. You know, as much as you'd like to run all of it, you can't.
You should online. There should be an
Yeah.
online version if someone
Well,
wants to watch
I
on
might want to
YouTube.
save a couple of things for my column for the weekend.
He's
The master
got a
of the
plan.
double dip. Well done.
He's
yes.
got a plan.
You have to double dip.
Yeah, absolutely. Double dip. Triple dip. If
Triple
you can.
dip if you can. Yeah, I'm talking about it here. This is the triple dip. Or this is the double dip. The column will be the
He's
triple
a smart
dip.
guy, smart guy. He's not as discombobulated as he looks.
I've been doing it for a long time, Chammy.
What do you think of the interview, Chammy?
No, it was a good get. It was a good get. Obviously, everyone wanted to hear from Lachlan Galvin. Look, as a viewer, you want to hear him get into the nitty gritty of the things that he couldn't get into,
Did you know that he wouldn't be able
but
to?
he wouldn't.
Yeah.
He said all the right things. He handled himself well. A 19-year-old kid in that situation, he handled himself as well as he could. But he obviously knew what he was doing, and I didn't leave that interview any wiser as to what went down at the Tigers. Nor did I expect to either, to be honest with you. I think he just said all the right things.
So do you think he was telling the truth?
Yeah, I think he was telling the truth. But
Okay, let's run through a couple of things. Okay?
Yeah.
The Isaac stuff, and that's been the big talking point. Whether Isaac Moses was the one telling him what to do or he told Isaac. He was adamant and strong. That was his strongest answer. That it was his show, he was running it, his decision, not Isaac pushing everything. Now,
No, I believe that. I've
Yeah.
never thought it was. Obviously, he's
Some
been
people have, though.
given advice though from Isaac,
Well, that's what a
and
man's supposed to do.
and I know I always said that I felt like that Isaac did the kid a disservice with maybe some of the advice. He should have tried to avoid some of the things that went down.
Like what?
Well, I don't think he's coming out of it with his reputation intact. That's
There's
all.
no question his reputation has been tarnished and
Yeah.
damaged, but
because
he
he is such a nice kid. I
he's a
agree
very
with you.
nice
He's a nice kid.
Yeah.
But people don't think that of him now, and people.
So what should he have done differently when it comes to Isaac, do you think?
In what way?
Well, you're saying that he didn't do
What
it the
should
right way.
Isaac have done
Yeah,
differently?
yeah.
I don't like what happened, mate. I don't like the fact that they went down that path that they did.
The bullying.
Yeah, I don't. And I think the system, I wrote this before, the system is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The system is wrong that they can agitate for a release and walk away, potentially get an upgrade this year and then double your salary next year. And that, it allows people like Isaac or agents in general or players like Lockie to then do what happened at the West Tigers. That's not fair on the West Tigers. And the West Tigers aren't without blame. We've been down this path before, Danny. I've spoken about how they inflamed this situation themselves.
They played into the hands of Isaac and Lachlan Galvin.
But if the NRL rules stated that you couldn't earn more than your current contract at any other club during the duration of that period, so for example, Lockie Galvin, $250 this year, $350 next year, it would stop a lot of these dramas because Lockie Galvin and his manager know no matter what happens, even if he goes to the Bulldogs, they could still ask for a release. But he should be on $250 this year and $350 at the
do we know
Bulldogs.
what he's
He
on
shouldn't
this
be on
year?
anymore.
Do you know what he's getting this year?
Well, I'd be surprised if he doesn't get an upgrade this year.
Really?
Yeah. And I'd be surprised if he doesn't nearly double his salary, if not more than what he was going to get next year. And that's fine.
He said it's not about money. He said
It's
none
not
of this
about money. No, it's not about money in terms of he would have stayed at the Tigers because he would have got more money. But he was never going to go for the same amount. So, yes, it's not about getting the most money that you could possibly get because he would have got that at the West Tigers. But he's going to get a lot more out of it. He's going to get a lot more than he was.
No, he's cost himself $1 million over the next 3 years.
I think he's cost himself. I think he's cost himself a lot more because the
go,
security of the 5-year extension plus the 2 years he already had at the Tigers. I think it worked out to be $3 to $3.5 mil of guaranteed money he's given up. So yeah, I get the argument. It's not about money, but would they have agitated the way that they did if the system didn't allow him to go and get more money elsewhere?
100% right.
But let's be fair, like he's not the first person to do this.
No.
And he's not going to be the last.
No.
It just, for some reason, this one blew up. Maybe because of the people involved, maybe because of the manner of it.
It blew up because a young kid who's a big talent said, I don't see myself developing at this club.
Under Benji Marshall.
Which is just an absolute rinsing of Benji's coaching credentials.
And he didn't bag Benji in the interview.
No, but that's why
he didn't.
But he also didn't praise him.
But his
either.
actions
said
he
it all.
didn't have to say anything.
That's what I say. Are we buying that? Like, I look at that interview, and if I'm instructing him to do an interview,
We couldn't be disparaging towards
he said
Benji.
exactly the right thing he should say. That's what I'm saying. He's handled
And
himself
that takes a bit
really
of skill
well
too, doesn't it? That takes
does.
skill to, like, it's not easy to, as a 19-year-old, to sit in front of a reporter with cameras and deal with all of that.
I'm not trying to take the piss, but sitting in front of you, like you've been in this game for 30 years, that would have been intimidating. The lights are on him, and you got Danny Weidler sitting there grilling you on.
He didn't even
on his
flinch.
Decisions, and he looked like he was
Didn't flinch.
Did he call you
cool as they come.
Catwalker?
He didn't. I don't think
Then
he
that would
listened
have
to this
been.
pod.
Oh, that's a shame.
He
Jeez,
does
it would
like-
have been all time if he walked in. Hey, Catwalker, hey,
He didn't. I don't think where his I don't know where his demographic. I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm not
But
entirely sure if
regardless-
Spotify goes there.
No, he wasn't a fan of catwalking. But he was calm. He actually made me feel calm during the interview. It all happened pretty quickly.
nice.
That's good.
No,
yeah.
he made me.
I'm glad you felt calm.
No, I
mate.
did.
Well done.
I thought it was really quite a relaxed chat. It wasn't aggressive. I didn't have to pry anything out of him. He stuffed up a couple of answers, like he got tongue tied on a couple of them.
Yeah.
And because it wasn't live, we just did them again.
Go again,
And
yep.
they weren't controversial answers. He just got tongue tied, but he actually spoke really well. He had management in the room. There was a member of what's Isaac Moses' company
Adam
called?
Brahm?
Yeah,
Cove
what's-
Agency?
He had a man from Cove, and he also had his dad there.
Yep.
And they both just sat back and listened. So
Didn't get involved.
Good luck to him. Honestly, I actually hope the kid does well.
Does he play on Monday?
He'll play off the bench.
What's the
he's
word?
He's wearing the lucky number 23.
Okay.
It feels like he'll play.
Yeah.
But it does affect the Bulldogs' bench rotation if Bailey Hayward and Lachie Galvin are both on that bench. And Cameron Serrato came out and said that Toby Sexton will be starting at halfback and Reid Marnie will be hooker. So there is an imbalance there. Do you agree or not?
Yeah, but they'll play Bailey through the middle. They'll play him at lock or do
Right.
something. That will. I think he'll have to play.
Where will Lachlan play then if they play Bailey?
Well, when does the Bulldogs New South Wales Cup team play? Because if he's not going to play in NRL, they need to play him in Cup. So
I don't know when they play.
yeah,
But he's prepared. He said he's prepared. He's prepared to
What is it?
play. Prepared to play.
say
reserve grade.
discombobulated, but you can't say that.
Discombobulated, but he's prepared to play reserve grade, and that's a credit to him as well. Like he knows he's got to. He's in the system where he's going to have to really prove himself to a degree and earn his stripes again, and he's ready to do that.
Well, Dogs play Wests just before. So,
okay. Right.
They're playing the game before, are they?
at Accor,
So I guess
in the
we'll
lead up
know
that
what
afternoon.
24 hours out, won't we?
Yeah.
That's when
Any update? I mean, Toby Sexton looks like he's definitely here until the end of the year, or definitely at the Bulldogs until the end of the year. Is there any thought out there that Reid Marnie might be gone before June 30 if they're looking to do these things, or they're happy with who they got there now is going to be there for the rest of the year, and what will happen in 2026 will happen?
I believe there was a meeting this week with Reid Marnie's agent, Reid and Gus.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it was just to see where they're at with everything. I don't know if they've come to some sort of resolution. But I don't think there's any strong desire for Reid Marnie to move him on this year.
No, it's not. It's not a this year question at all.
Well, one of the clubs who are supposed to be interested are the Cowboys. They've got Reece Robson this year. So, and I don't know who else is.
Has it been doing the rounds at Sandon? They're looking at Sandon Smith to play hooker at the Cowboys. I heard a whisper that's been doing the rounds. That they're looking at.
He's been linked to Parramatta a bit, hasn't he?
Yeah, I don't think Paris see him as their 6. They probably, if he'd go there, be their 14. But I don't think that's what Sandon would be fine. I heard a whisper that the Cowboys were looking at him as a potential number 9.
Well, if Galvin plays, it'll just add to the melting pot of an atmosphere out there, given that they're looking to surpass the 65,305 that they got against Souths in round 7. But just back to the interview, Damien Barrett and Craig Hutchison, Hutchie, a media baron across Australia with his SEN radio network, but he does this great podcast called Sounding Board, and they talk about media matters as much as anything. And our man Danny featured this week. Have a listen.
Must be got
Danny Weidler camera time, 40 seconds inside the story.
That's a lot of
which
time.
is a 22% look at me conversion rate. Now, among the 40 seconds he's maximised for himself, Danny, it's included a handshake, a 2-shot, a single shot, a wide-angle B-roll footage, a wide shot of the sit-back, lean-back chat, an inclusion of his own questions, which we'll get to, and give me a bit of a drum roll on this if you can, please, Zipper, who's sitting in for Sam Watson, who's somehow on holidays at Kane style a week after he started the show.
Geordie's back.
They've given him the better quality microphone. One good microphone of the two.
He's got the better mic.
And they've given Danny the crisp sounding mic. And they've given Lachlan, who's the biggest interview in Australia right now,
The fuzzy one.
the fuzzy mic.
That's brilliant.
2 AFL guys have just hopped into you.
That king.
They like to mention me on that podcast. Never in a positive way. Usually in a 2-shot way.
They call it the Hall of Fame, so it's reporters who are in camera shots for way too long.
Apparently, I'm an immortal.
Yeah, well, Tom Morris, the guy who's now on the Yeah ads down there in Melbourne,
He's also a well-known AFL reporter.
Over 30%. He's
So he's got a better
Hall of Frame rate, and you're at 22%.
So in other words, I have to lift
22% of total screen time. 3-minute story. You're on for 22% of the time.
That's I can do better. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
I need to do better.
That's a genuine carve up.
Yeah, they do it every week,
I
Chammy.
love it.
Or I get it sent to me quite regularly. I actually went up. I saw Hutchie in Vegas.
He mentioned this on the pod.
Yes, and I pretended to be angry and stormed up to him and said, "You put him." But I think it's just all part of it, isn't it? So I think Hutchie back in his day was quite a big frame me in sort of guy.
Oh, shots fired. He's going back at him.
Yeah, piece to cameras,
Huge head wobbler. Oh, my goodness.
Huge, Hutchie, massive.
Yep.
And I think it's all fun. So
Wow.
Well,
This is good.
Your appearance on that, and by the way, just to reiterate, Danny puts himself on shots because he doesn't like doing the old stand up.
I hate doing
So
that.
he says.
So he says.
I hate it.
It's the most well known side of head shot in rugby league is D Weidler. There it is with the
I'm
microphone.
prepared to own it. Back of head. That's my best angle. Back of head, best angle.
I actually watched him walking in and shaking your head, and I actually remember thinking to myself, so how many times did you ask him to do that and rehearse it?
I didn't. I was told we needed to do it.
No, it was a good interview. It was a good interview.
You get told anything?
You think I don't get told to do things, rightio?
Righto.
No, honestly, well done. It was a good get. We all been waiting to hear from Lachlan Galvin for a long time, so well done, Dan.
Thank you.
And you appeared on Roy and HG, the podcast. If you go back on the weekend and listen to Roy and HG's podcast,
Oh,
on
the People's
weekend,
Champion. That was
satire, they just gave it to Chammas.
Another lap for the People's Champion.
But they're big Phil Gould guys, Roy and HG.
You know, People's Champion's caught on too. People are calling him that. Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks to this podcast.
People's champ.
The People's
How was
Champion.
Gus on Monday night? Did he ask about me?
didn't mention your name.
Oh,
You reckon he would have?
But aren't you might be on with him.
yeah, I'm back on this week.
Ooh.
It'll be fine.
Are you still doing one? King's birthday weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's after
After the
It's
game.
after the
Maybe Gus won't come.
well, Gus will have to rush back.
It'll be fine.
Rush
fine.
back to see you if he'll make it.
Mm.
I wouldn't be rushing back if I was Gus.
Big moment in Australian television history. Round 2.
People's champion.
Tom Trbojevic. What's this story, Chammy, that you dropped midweek about the Manly legend?
It's
He's
good
a
to see.
legend.
It's good to see Chammy writing a story about actual footballers
About
other than himself.
Rugby league.
Oh, yeah, good.
First person piece. That didn't go down too well with everybody either. Chammy did it.
So-
Yeah, Hall of Fame.
The word is from the Northern Beaches that Tom, if he doesn't play for Manly, he'll just nip off to the Super League. He won't play for another club.
Don't beat it up. Don't beat it up. Talk. He's not going now. He's not going
Okay.
now. So I wrote a
Let
story.
Chammy beat it up.
I wrote a story yesterday that said that Manly have opened conversations with the Trbojevic brothers, their agent,
Sorry.
He playing it again. I could just hear it in the background.
Sorry.
Basically because of what's happened with Cherry Evans and everyone accusing the club of being disrespectful, the club has then moved before the November 1 free agency date to open conversations with Tom and Jake.
Good move.
It's the right move. They had to because yes, it's a hard one because I don't know how you value the players just yet. But you do not want to be accused of waiting too long and making the players feel like they're unwanted when they are that football club. And I don't care
Absolutely not.
what anyone says about their injuries or particularly Tom. If they stuff this up, then disrespect those two after what they have given to that football club, continue to give to that football club, the fans will raise hell.
They won't. They won't. It just won't happen.
So that's what's happened so far is they've met. Conversations around Jake are looking positive that a 1-year extension will be on the cards. He's contracted till the end of 2026. His current deal was worth around $900,000 a season, but
Whoa, that's a lot.
But it's north of $1 million at the moment because it averaged out around 900,000. But we love
So
Desi
Jake's
Hasler.
currently on more than $1 million.
Yeah, because Desi loves a back-ended deal. And when they signed the deal,
He does love a back-ended
he
deal.
loves a back-ended deal. So I believe the boys are on heavily back-ended deals.
So what's Tom on?
I think it averaged out around 1-1. So you add a couple, 100, 200,000, 300 onto that.
So here's the thing I'm interested in, Chammy, from a Manly fan's perspective, but also your intel on how salary cap provisions work with the NRL about valuations. So Jake, at the back end of his career, will the NRL cop, and you wrote in this article that he might be offered around $550.
Yep.
Will the NRL cop that? And Tom, say if he says, and you wrote that article a few months ago, I think it was, to say Tom wanted to take a pay cut to go down, and it was like, no, you can't just self-appoint a pay cut because your valuation is your valuation in the eyes of the salary cap. Can Tom and Manly make the argument that because this guy has missed so much footy, that this is actually what his valuation should be?
I'll
And
ask
then
you this
chip
then.
it down a bit.
No, you can't. Well, his value, he's going to be 7 years older than when he signed the last deal.
Yep.
6 years older potentially than when he signed the deal that he's currently on. Now, you can't go off if it's a back-ended deal, that doesn't mean that's what he's on. You go off the average price. So if Jake's on 900, you're not talking off 1.1 million. We're talking off a 900 average. I don't think there's going to be any issues around Jake around that 550 mark. We know that Jake, he's a tremendous guy. His football has slowed down a little bit in the last 12 to 18 months. I don't think there are going to be arguments from both parties if that deal ends up around the 500 to 600 mark.
And is that what a run-of-the-mill middle is at the moment? In first grade footy?
That sounds about right. Like
Yeah.
he's not, someone like Moses Leota's is highly underpaid at Penrith. He'd only be on 6s or 7s now. I'm not sure if they've upgraded him or not when Fisher Harris left, but he's been tremendous for Penrith. So I don't think there's going to be any arguments around Jake. The question mark is going to be Tom. And I don't know. Honestly, I feel for Manly in this situation because
Cham, before you go on to Tom, can I just ask you, is Jake definitely want to play on?
at this stage, yeah.
Because I was hearing maybe not, maybe. Have you heard anything?
Well, that's the
around-
reason I've only found out this story because there were whispers doing the
Yeah.
rounds that potentially with some head knocks or how he was feeling
Yeah.
that he might look at finishing up at the end of 26. But I got told absolutely
Okay.
not. At the
'Cause
moment, he
I
wants
wanted
to
make
play
that
on.
clear because that was a bit of a.
You've been hearing that as well?
Same
Yeah.
scuttle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where it's at with
Sorry,
Jake.
sorry to interrupt.
No, you're okay, mate. Now I'm discombobulated.
Tom.
Tom. So with Tom, how do you value him right now? We're talking about a contract that starts in 18 months' time for a position we do not know. Like, he could be fullback, he could be six, he could be centre. I don't know what his body's going to be like.
It feels like he's
on his
moving away
day, he's
from
a
fullback,
top
doesn't
5
it?
player in the game.
But it feels like he's moving away from fullback.
Well, it does. And that how quick does that happen, though?
Mm.
Does Lehigh Hopewadi keep putting pressure on like he did on the weekend?
Good
And how does Tom's body hold up? Like if Tom comes back and kills it at fullback for the next 12 months, I'm sorry, but you're not moving him away from fullback.
But we haven't seen him. I mean, I love Tom. But we haven't seen him have that extended
I know.
period.
I feel for him.
You know, like if there's one player in the game who deserves some luck, it's bloody Tommy. Like,
Yeah.
he really deserves a good run because A, he's the nicest bloke you'd ever meet. B, he's
No, I
one
think
of the-
Jake's nicer. Sorry,
Okay,
Tommy.
well, sorry.
Dead heat. It's a dead
Dead
heat.
heat, whatever.
And Ben's a
Well,
nice
you know
kid as
what I'm-
well.
You know what I'm saying? Nice, such
Yeah,
a
no,
nice
they are.
fella.
They're great
and
people.
what a brilliant player. Like, we'll never forget that season he had when he was injury free or had a good run without injuries.
21. Yeah.
Was it 15 games as well? He was just
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, that was the best run of form since Jared Hayne on his run. And we just want to see him get a break. But he doesn't, like, even now he's injured. You know, like,
No, I know.
it-
You just feel like it's going to, it'll turn.
it
And
must hurt
unfortunately,
him.
it doesn't.
Must weigh on him.
And that's why the England stuff is what I raised in my story. I think he's telling people close to him that, like, you'd imagine he'd be heartbroken with what's going on. And the fact that he went and volunteered to take a $750,000 pay cut at
Huge.
Manly to look after the football club, to help out, because he felt guilty. Like, I'm sorry, that he is the last, or they are the last of that generation of people who put the club before anything else. I know there are some players who talk a big game. It's about the club. It's about the team. But they are genuinely the last of a dying breed. And that's why I hope Manly just do the right thing by him here and think about what they've achieved, what they've given to that club. They don't want to play against Manly. Even Tom doesn't want to go play against Manly. Like, he's only 28. So when he comes on contract, he'll be 30. And if in some way, I was told that the management he's made it clear to his management that if Manly feel like they're going to lose other players because of the stress of trying to retain him, he would rather leave.
One go to England.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would rather them secure their own futures,
Yeah.
a future as a
Well,
football
that says
club,
it all about him, doesn't
then
it?
put him first.
That says everything about him as a bloke.
Of course.
Everything. But he's not going to earn big money in England. I mean, like, he'll earn money.
Oh,
Like,
I don't know about that.
Not the sort of money he's on now.
No, but if in 2027 the time comes and Tom goes to England because of it, and it's a massive if, but I still think he would go over there, be the best player in the comp, earn, what do you earn, £400,000? Like, it's still good money. It's still good money. And Manly, we were critical of Tony Mestrov through the Cherry Evans situations and the way he handled it. I think it speaks volumes for the situation, how it unfolded with Cherry Evans, because he wasn't involved in negotiations. The fact that he's gone and met with the management company of the Trbojevic brothers, so now he's involved in this. It speaks to the relationship there with those boys.
You're back in the Mestrov tent, are you? You're back under.
No.
You're back bosom buddies.
No. I'm saying it
talking
shows you,
greyhounds.
it speaks volumes of how they felt about Cherry Evans, doesn't it?
That's all. They didn't want him.
That's right. So the fact that Mestrov is going out and meeting with the
Said they
Trbojevic
want him.
manager, Paul Sutton, it says that they want him.
But you know that whatever I'm a huge Daly Cherry Evans fan, but the regard with which Trbojevic is held on the Northern Beaches, there would be a riot if they
Yeah.
didn't treat them properly.
It'd be
They have to treat them
there'd be
properly.
anarchy.
They are the most powerful figures at that club.
It's not even about power.
But whatever, most loved, powerful,
Respected.
respected, everything.
Respected's the word.
Rare, whatever.
They've never, I don't, from my own, you'd know maybe as well, I've never felt they've ever used that influence that they have and the
I don't
fact
know
that
the
they
inner
are adored
workings. Yeah, I don't think they would have.
to try and wield power at the club.
Yeah.
Wield power at the club. It just hasn't happened. And hopefully Manly can strike a deal. But as I said, I don't know. How do you make... With Tom, you wait. Is he a 6? Is he a 1? Is he a centre? Because the money you pay him will be dictated by what position he plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest, if he's the 6, the conversation comes up around Luke Brooks. Fogarty's coming in on a 3-year deal.
Mm.
If Tom's going to be your
Yeah.
6,
Yeah.
where's Luke Brooks go?
How long's he contracted?
He's got 2 more years.
He's a wild one. Does Tom become a 14 when he's 30?
That's the kind of conversation. If they start turning around to Tom and say, "Mate, can you be our 14?" That's where, as I said, we'll raise hell because that's disrespectful.
Mm.
Why?
Come on, man.
Tom Trbojevic, Manly legend.
You see Lehigh Hopewadi?
Oh, I'm not bagging.
You've seen his upside, and I'm not having a go at
No,
Tom here.
no,
I'm just saying
he's-
where
he's
can
your-
they fit him in best to get the most
You're
out of
very
him
lucky
and the most
because
of the
you've got a
rest of them?
fullback there waiting. You've
Yeah, but-
got someone ready to step in.
I've
and beat.
never seen a player his size able.
No, it's
He's
incredible.
pound for pound the strongest player to ever play rugby league.
It's incredible.
I don't know what Lehigh Hopewadi is like. I don't know if there's any pressure from the Hopewadi camp or the management to push their way into fullback. But you remember when Tom came in, there was a level of respect that he afforded Brett Stewart, and the way the club handled that, he had to bide his time.
Yeah.
And if that's 12 more months for Leo Hapawadi, I'd like to think that
that's fair.
the people around him say, mate, you learned from one of the greats of the game.
No, I'm just thinking of Tom Trbojevic, the 32-year-old. If he's still playing rugby league and he still wants to play for Manly, because it sounds like he never wants to play against Manly.
Yeah, he's 28 right now.
Yeah, but that's only the second year of the new deal, 32. It's going to happen pretty quickly.
It'll be 30 when the first year starts.
Yeah.
31 for the second. So it'll be 30.
You know his birthday off the top of your head, do you?
October.
He's obsessed.
24th
He's
of October.
obsessed.
I looked it up yesterday when I was writing how old he was.
Well, he'd nearly be 30.
I think it was 20.
You know what I'm saying, though? Does his role change to benefit the team the most and fit everyone under the cap? We'll wait and see with Manly. Anyway, off to a quick break. Talk about the Broncos, hardly been in the news this week. And also this hit piece. Well, that's what it's down on the rundown as, by the Australian on the new Perth chief executive. Back soon on the Journos show. Guys, Michael Maguire. So, yeah. Firstly, did the rugby league world underestimate the task that this guy faced when he walked into the joint? And I just wonder how much he knew about what is underneath the hood at the Broncos, as opposed to right now walking away from Brookie on the weekend, getting absolutely belted by 30.
Yeah. It's a hard one, isn't it? Like, Michael Maguire would have seen the Broncos and thought that I want a piece of that.
Exactly what I can fix.
That vehicle looks spectacular. And look, they should be doing a lot better than they are. Simple as that. Whether it's purely they're not wanting to work hard, not buying into what Madge has got to say, whether Madge is a right fit, I'm not there. I don't see it day to day. From the outside, there's obviously some serious issues there. But I think you have to. I think it was Robert Craddock who first wrote that. You know, the playing group thought that Seabold was too technical, thought that Kevy was too light. Now Madge is too hard. It's like, what do they want?
Yeah.
What do they want? Like,
what do they
like? Or is it the playing group?
What do you want? Is that from the Notebook? Sorry,
haven't seen it, but but it was. I think it was Craddock who first came up with that concept.
The Notebook.
Yeah, Notebook's a great movie.
Okay, sorry,
I haven't watched it.
Oh yeah, don't bother.
I need to watch it.
I watched 20 minutes of it. It was painfully obvious where it was going.
Okay.
Anyway,
so look, it's a big story, isn't it, Madge? Super successful with the Blues, Kiwis. Yeah, Chammy ran him out of town at the West Tigers.
Hang on a side note. How's Buzz overtaking me on the anti-Madge crusade?
Buzz doesn't
I'm
like
offended.
him,
I was captain of that team. Buzz has taken over. He's now CEO.
Buzz had the pom-poms out for Madge last year.
Did he? I thought that was Weidler. Oh, sorry. Did I say that out loud?
No. Madge was loved by all last year.
Blues.
But failed to deliver something that looks like it's promised halfway through said first season. There's going to be a bit of heat.
They're obviously getting used to his ways, and it's going to go one of two ways, isn't it? They're either going to turn around and say we can do what he wants and play the way he wants and cop his style, or in 18 months' time, Madge will get a payout.
Payne Haas?
You're being very smug over there. Spit it out.
Everything that I'm hearing is
Spit it
the
out,
stuff that I wrote at the Tigers, and I was crucified for it.
Who crucified you?
Well, just at the time, the Tigers fans or media
They're quite volatile. Those Tigers fans.
That's nothing new.
You
deserve it.
But Madge, when he signed with the Tigers, he made the point to the club that he could get that was a roster he could take to finals football, right? And it wasn't long before he started to turn around and blame the roster. I feel like history's repeating itself. And if he does that this time around and start to blame the roster and start to move the pieces of the puzzle, you're not going to be given the luxury or the time that he had at the Tigers. Because to be honest with you, ain't no one complaining about that roster. And if they aren't...
It's a good roster.
It's a great roster.
Good. Adam?
Not great.
The upside in that roster...
You're the roster.
The upside in that roster is great. Okay?
Yeah.
Now,
upside.
if Michael Maguire's ways, and this is a different... This is not Sam Burgess. This is not John Sutton. This is not Greg Inglis. It's a different generation. And as coach, if you go in and you're dealing with those kind of people who may deal with things differently, you need to adjust. And I'm not saying abandon the principles of which you base your coaching on. but coach to the people that you've got. He doesn't have those people that he had at South Sydney. They're not going to handle the shit that he throws at them as well as the other guys did. And if they're not, maybe he has to adjust.
Just
Can
back to the
can he adjust?
Hold up.
Well, that's him as a coach. He needs to. Otherwise, he's going to find himself in a situation at another club where he's burnt another set of players out who are all running to the media, bagging him out because they can't handle playing under him. And eventually it's going to end him in tears as it did. And you'd like to think that over his 2, 3, whatever years he had out of the game in the NRL, that he's learnt those lessons.
Back to the roster. Who's the best 2 players on that roster?
Payne Haas,
Yes?
number 1.
Patrick Carrigan.
Patrick Carrigan.
There you go. So every other team in the competition just about.
But it should be Reece Walsh.
Okay, I'll get to that. But what I'm saying is your spine. You always hear about the spine. 1, 6, 7, 9. So
Oh, well, their spine's pretty good, man.
it's pretty good. However, hear me out. So 6, Ezra Mam, we'll get to him. A few things going on in his life in the last 12 months. He's just come back, so park that one. Adam Reynolds, when he's fit and playing good, but fit and playing well, hasn't happened enough this year. Ben Hunt's come to the club. He's injured at the moment. Reece Walsh is injured. Reece Walsh, I read this fascinating look back. Remember Tim Smith at Parramatta?
Well, great man, Timmy.
Skateboard
My man.
kid.
Had one of the great rookie seasons of all time, burst onto the scene. He was flamed out 4 years later, 5 years later. I hope we're not seeing history repeating with Reece Walsh.
I feel like Reece is a better player.
Who knows? Tim Smith did set up 40 tries in his first season.
He was my coach at
It was
school.
incredible.
Was he?
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah, when they sent him down to Parramatta as a young kid from Queensland, they used to send him to schools to do something during the day. So he was he coached us at Parramatta Marist.
Was he like a
Great
match
man.
coach?
No, he was a good man, Timmy. He was good. I don't know how they let him around us. He was loose.
And the 9 packs. Yeah?
What is it?
Or Billy Walters.
Oh, yeah, Pakes or Walters, yeah.
Pakes or Walters. So you look at it and you go, is that a great squad? Like Carrigan and Haas are fantastic players, but are they the fantastic players you need in those
No.
positions? That's what I'm saying. I honestly think that this squad is overrated.
Imbalanced? Or
Could be imbalanced. I'm not a
Well,
salary
they've got
cap manager,
They've got 5
GM.
hookers at the club, a few halfbacks. I don't know. Is it the right balance there?
Still better than still better than most of the
Well,
rosters.
they have to be a top 8 squad. Simple
They're a
as that.
top 4 squad.
Yeah, I would have thought that. Yeah.
They're a top 4 squad.
5 to 8.
They're a top 4 squad.
5 to 8.
They've got some players in that back line there that, like, mate, for example, Cobbo, his manager wants $1 million. I'm sorry. He's nice to have, but he's not essential to a premiership. Staggs, good player.
Really good player.
Really good player. I'd keep Staggs. Cobbo, I'd say see you later too. Ricky, good player. Like they got to get. There's. It's not just those 3 or 4 big names. They've got 7 or 8 walk into any team of the competition players.
Yeah, but 7 or 8 players don't win games of footy.
Oh, kicker. Thanks, Chief.
They don't. 17 do, last time I checked. Everyone contributing. Look at Penrith.
Yeah.
Name me a player that didn't contribute at some stage in the last 4 years for Penrith.
Look at Canberra's roster.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because they're all contributing.
Honestly, that is the worst roster on paper at the start of the season. Most people would have said on paper that roster is the worst in the competition. And they're sitting there on the top 2 of the ladder.
And could be minor premiers.
And they've won more games than anyone else. They're either 10 and 3, first team to win 10 games this year. They haven't had a bye yet.
Yeah.
So
I think the fact that I stayed with them in Las Vegas may have contributed to their start to the year.
now we're getting carried away. Now we're getting very carried away, people.
Hang on, were you in the lift with Hudson and Morgan?
Or maybe
Yeah.
that story inspired them to what
They
they're doing.
hit you over the head with a baseball bat.
So a proper one.
Payne Haas,
Mm.
that's the big contract negotiation
Yep.
coming up. You talk about Selwyn Cobbo and all of that, but they've got to get that right, surely.
Yeah, but there's not much more you can offer Payne Haas. Like, no one's paying Payne Haas more than 1.2 to, like,
Perth would.
he's gonna get the money, maximum money wherever he ends up going.
Perth would pay him 1.5, 1.6.
Maybe.
Yeah, they
Maybe.
Would.
But
They would. They need a Glenn Lazarus style signing.
does he move away from all his
I'm
family?
just saying that they'd pay.
And he
him
looks
the money.
after them all?
Yeah,
with
I
his
think it'd be hard.
siblings?
It'd be very hard. He's got a beautiful home there. He's settled there, but he's frustrated. He wants to win.
I know, well, that's the thing. I don't think he wants to leave
win.
Brisbane. He wants to win a premiership.
He wants to win.
And Yeah.
He likes the club, but he wants to win.
Yeah. What about this talk around the Bulldogs and Payne Haas?
They can't afford Payne Haas.
Even if they could, I find it hard when his manager's in the middle of suing the club.
That won't be happening. Yeah, with the relationship with the manager, that's
the Jackson Torpenay
yeah,
situation.
That's not happening.
That's why people are saying, "Oh, Payne Haas," and they're making fun of Gus, saying he could be going to Bulldogs. But that situation with the management company is not good.
Bulldogs got Leo Thompson coming,
and they got Leo.
Yeah,
Come to Manly, Payne.
And the young gun from the Dragons.
yeah, Latu
Fainu.
Reece Walsh.
Latu. We keep getting confused.
Reece Walsh, back from injury, but attacked 2GB's Adam Hawes for criticism over Ezra Mam. Ezra, when he touched the ball just about every time the other night at Brookvale, he got booed.
Deserved it.
So can you fill me in on this story? What's happened? So Reece Walsh has criticised Horsey for what?
So Horsey came out and said he should be copping that on the chin because of what happened in the off-season.
Did Ezra not cop it on the chin? What happened? Did Ezra say something?
Ezra said something along the lines of, I've been bearing the brunt of racism all my life. He brought that up and everything.
What, in a post-match interview?
I don't know exactly when it was, how post-match it was, but it was definitely around the mark. But don't want to go down that path. I was just purely on Reece Walsh snapping back at Adam Hawes on social media saying, how has he not copped it on the chin? You've never stepped onto a field, so you wouldn't know what it's like out there. Good reporting, Adam. Look, that old one.
Look, yeah,
that old.
I think it's okay for Reece to defend his mate.
Yeah.
But to go down the line of the old haven't stepped on it's just, he's got to, let's hope he comes up with something better.
Yeah. Does it count if you play club football all your life? Like, when people hammer you never played today. Does that come? Like Horsey played a lot of footy, apparently.
Yeah, I played 1 year with the Belrose under 13s.
But
1 year doesn't count.
No, it doesn't.
No,
look. Reece can have an opinion. I think there's nothing wrong with that. But the club, the not playing doesn't. It's not relevant to what he's. Well, it's not relevant to that argument.
Yeah. What do you say? Like in that situation with the club under pressure, you're just adding to another headline.
Yeah, you don't.
I don't think Horsey would care. Like Horsey wouldn't.
He wouldn't care. It makes his show more relevant.
Exactly.
On
Yeah. No, but
what are you saying?
I'm just saying it makes it more relevant.
Wouldn't you rather in that situation, Reece, just go to the effort of maybe getting Horsey's number and sending him a message, giving him a call? As a journo, I'd like that.
Yeah. They don't do it as much these days.
But that's what they should be doing.
They take to Instagram and other such things.
Just last one on the Broncos being under a bit of pressure. 100% footy. Was their CEO meant to be on your show?
Yeah, he was.
What happened?
I don't know. I think he decided not to come on. I think that he was supposed to also be on 360 as well.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they were smashing him for not going on 360, and he was only going to go on 100. They thought he was going on 100% footy.
Well, initially I was going to fly up and have a chat with him up in Brisbane, but I had the other matter of Galvin to deal with, so I had to worry about that. So then I know he was going to come on the show live. I think that he decided that it would be better to wait a week and see what happens.
Wait for Chammas. That's who he's waiting for.
That's what I said to him. Oh, look, I wonder.
Did you white out me again?
Yeah, I did. I made sure that the ratings were less on that week, which they were, thankfully. But
sorry, people's champion.
I wonder if because News Corp were blowing up. News Corp were blowing up that he was getting 100% footy.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Now they're owned by News Corp. I wonder if that played a factor. I think there was something on Triple M suggesting that perhaps Madge didn't like the fact he was going on the show. I don't think it was that. But there's also whispers that maybe the chairman.
I've been told that it was Dave Donaghy's decision.
Yeah,
not chairman.
Yeah, I think he consulted people.
I'm just saying, I think it was
from what I know, he consulted people, and then they made the decision. You know what? We don't need to inflame the situation. We got a big game against the Titans into a bye. Let's see how that plays out before we get it on the.
And the other thing is, he's a CEO. You know, is it necessarily his baby? I know we like to talk to CEOs, but when it comes to football,
I'd rather hear from Madge.
Yeah,
but there's also a level of credit you get from fronting up in difficult situations, which I know. Yeah, Dave's we used to work in the media, so he would know that more than anyone. So it'd be interesting to see if they don't get the Titans this week, what happens next week.
These media types becoming CEOs.
Speaking of which,
Perth,
there you go. Beautiful segue, Danny. You're learning. All these years in TV, and you're finally
something.
Standing in the Hall of Fame.
Anthony DeSegli, the new Perth chief executive. The Australian just went whack through the week. So he
Run us through it.
So Anthony, he was at News Corp originally, I thought, and then he went to Seven, worked for Kerry Stokes for a very long time at the West Australian as the editor. Now, the West Australian knows it's the only paper in town, so it basically does what it wants.
Like the Courier Mail.
just smashes people if they feel like smashing people, especially when it comes to their West Coast Eagles and Fremantle Dockers. And then he moved over to be the national news director, Anthony, before Peter V'landys and the NRL appointed him as Perth CEO. But the Australian contacted 10 leading businesses headquartered in Perth and asked them about this appointment and if it's a smart move by the NRL to appoint Anthony in this role. Former Reserve Bank of Australia John Poynton unleashed on Mr. DeSegli, saying that half the city's key figures hated his guts and warned the one-time newspaper editor was about to be taught a lesson when he walks back into town. That's the problem about making a prick of yourself. It's hard when you have come back and have to face the very same people.
Was this talking about Chammy, was it? Oh, no, sorry.
No, it's DeSegli. Yeah, and another one said, life catches up with everyone, and it's going to be fun seeing life catch up with Anthony.
Yeah, so the reason that Peter V'landys went for this appointment was because of his connections in Perth. Simple as that. Because it's not because of his football knowledge. It's not because he's deep in rugby league. It's because he was seen as someone who could give the Perth Bears some sort of foothold there and use his connections. It sounds like it's going to be a tough job. And Peter V'landys doesn't get things wrong very often, so you've got to give him credit for that. This looks, from the outside, this looks like it could be a disaster. Simple as that. But if you're seeing that kind of response, I don't know who wrote the article. I don't know if there was some sort of reason that person wrote that article and went to all these people. There could be something behind that. I don't know. But that doesn't sound good on paper. To hear those sort of comments.
You can find anyone to comment about someone, and
yeah, absolutely.
There are enough people who don't like certain people who don't get to that position.
Chammy, that's pretty strong.
Yeah, it is. Of course it is. But look, I think you have to reserve judgment until we see
good.
What he does.
Why wouldn't the NRL have gone to an experienced sporting administrator, whether it be...
They needed someone from Perth, mate. You know.
Well,
that.
I'm just saying, someone based in Perth, someone from their basketball team or someone from the AFL who has a sporting background, knows Perth, and is well liked.
Well, clearly they're going to hire their general manager of football, and other people are going to have football knowledge. So their view is we needed someone who was going to be commercially focused.
Well,
it's hard to judge him.
He hasn't got a background in rugby league.
You don't need to have a background in rugby league.
Oh, he'd have to some sort of standing to be useful.
Depends on the people they hire around him, Danny.
All right. Well,
and they haven't announced anyone.
Well, he
yet.
hasn't got contacts in Perth by the sound of it.
Well, they did this straw poll over there. One of the businesses, Seven West Media, said, rugby league's going to battle over here because of its relevance. Woodside Energy, main focus, Fremantle Dockers. Roy Hill, that's the Gina Reinhardt company, refused to back dangerous sports, contact sports.
Yeah, but that's all about the sport. It's got nothing to do with the bloke itself. I said it on day one. Then they're going to struggle to make inroads in an AFL town. They're going to make their life hell. They tried to sabotage the whole campaign with the government. Yeah. That's not a surprise. And it doesn't matter who you appoint. That's still going to happen.
Chammy, I reckon, look, Peter V'landys doesn't get things wrong, but this is going to be a very interesting one to see how it plays out.
Well, as you said, I'll reserve judgment until I see how it plays out.
You reckon he makes it to the starting line?
What's the starting line? Hasn't he started this week?
No,
competition.
When we see the Perth Bears run out.
Well, it depends on what he can get on the jerseys. Depends on the relationships they build, the corporate partners that they get.
It's going to be a challenge.
Members that they sign up.
And you know what? Time's ticking. We should have the coach.
Mate,
we should have the coach now.
I agree with you.
How far away?
It is. Well, it should be this week, shouldn't it?
I don't think that they've done the Bears any favours. I think they should have done them some favours. They should have looked after them with the salary cap as well. Like they have to convince 30 players to move away from friends and family. Like it's
huge.
I think the NRL is underestimating the talent, the level of talent they're going to be able to get under a salary cap that's identical to everyone else.
They can't be a flop to start with.
They can't. That's why they should have been given an incentive. And if the other clubs arced up, they say, well, bad luck. That's what we're doing.
Is there any
the game can't afford to lose Perth. They need to get this right.
AFL famously had the cost of living away from home allowance. I think they called it COLA, the acronym. I think it was like 10%. It might be more, might be less, for players who lived in Sydney because of the cost of living differences at the time between Sydney and Melbourne. Now, they're probably comparative now. But Perth, you're right. Is there any thought to say Perth can pay their players 10% more,
Zero.
5% more. No, is there any talk about it?
Nothing. The NRL has told the other clubs they will not be getting anything different to you guys, so don't worry.
But PNG, you get no tax. Good as
Tax-free.
gold.
Tax free.
It's honestly
Good as gold. Tax free.
The NRL, I think they've made a mistake in this situation. They really have. They need the Bears to work.
You know the market, right?
How? I've only been to Perth 4 times in my life.
No, you know the market, the play market.
Oh, okay. I thought you liked the real estate market. I was thinking, what do you think I am?
Well, you dressed like a real estate agent last week.
Last week.
Yeah.
This week he's dressed like a real estate agent on his day off.
What, in a mink coat?
Yeah, going to the park with his kids, hoping it doesn't get dirty.
That's very funny.
Listen, Muttley, why are you laughing like that for?
That's very funny because he's right. The player market, is it there for them? Is there enough there for Perth to?
There are players available. They're getting snatched up pretty
good
quickly.
players.
Well, they're going to have to pay overs. And at some point, when you pay overs for 2 or 3, the bottom end's going to be terrible. And what they don't have to rely
Juniors.
on is juniors.
Yeah.
At least the Dolphins could sign the
It's a lot
best juniors.
harder than the Dolphins setup.
So that at least the Dolphins, player 18, player 20 to 30 would have been local. A lot of them would have been local juniors. Player 20 to 30 get the Perth Bears are going to be guys that you're signing and forcing to come over. Not forcing, I shouldn't use that
Paying
word.
to,
but
yeah.
paying on minimum wage almost, or 200,000 to come and live in Perth.
Go west, young man.
Correct.
Land of opportunity.
Like, I know people want their opportunities,
Yeah.
but the level of those players, if you're a half decent young guy, you wait for your chance closer for the same amount of money.
Yep.
So, as I said,
Tough.
but that's not on the CEO. If they struggle when they get to the start
No,
line,
he's got his own problems by the sounds of it.
well, yeah, the
Right.
hatchet men
Right.
are after him.
The hatchet men.
I'd be watching the underneath of my car more than anything. By the sounds of it with him, with this headpiece. Paul Anth, tone, big tone. Good luck, mate. Okay, that's us for Journos this week.
Okay.
We've got to get out of the studio, that's
Why?
why.
Okay.
But we're looking forward to
I
a
was
couple of
just warming up.
Oh,
I'm
well,
enjoying it. Let's talk a bit more.
I've got to get upstairs for another commitment. I've got 5 more minutes.
so it's just
Mate,
for you.
Mr. Podcast.
Well, yeah,
How
it
many
is.
podcasts is how many? I turn on Triple M nowadays.
Yeah.
It's just Peacock. It's just. Are you on breakfast too?
No.
Not yet.
No, I refuse to
yet.
do that because I'm never awake.
But you're on the afternoons.
Yeah.
On the coverage. It's
Triple
just
Adam. He's everywhere.
More gigs and more gigs in
I
Chammas.
got a thought.
Oh no.
What?
Not a dream. No dreams.
No dreams, no rants, but it's a thought. And I've felt this for a long time. And the other day I thought, you know what? We've got the platform to do it, so I'm going to go there.
Okay, this is
Can I
rundown
go
down.
there?
This is not on the rundown,
This is
everyone.
not-
We
this
were
is-
going to
this
talk
is-
about
this is dangerous
Origin. We'll
territory.
talk about
Oh,
that next
no,
week.
I'm
Don't worry
getting
about Origin.
nervous.
This is no, it's not that bad. It's
Does
not
it,
that
does it
bad. But
impact
I
me?
think
Am
it
I
needs
going to
to
have
be.
to mend
No.
bridges for you anywhere?
I have long thought rugby league is lacking something.
Oh no.
There is one stat that we do not keep, and it irks me. And I was sitting there at Origin the other night and thought to myself, yes, well done, Mitchell Moses. I want stats on kick meters for kicks, for penalties, to the side, kicks to the sideline. I want to know average meters gained by my kicker for the sideline kicks to the
when you get a
sideline.
penalty inside
Yeah.
the 40 and kick for touch.
When you kick for touch.
Do you think it's a lost art form?
Yes, because I've always been, when I played, every meter counts.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
you don't want the ball to, you don't want the opposition to get it. But Mitchell Moses in Origin, and has done throughout his career, he makes a lot of meters. And we place so much importance on every meter that we get in the game. I don't know why we don't keep average meters per kick for touch.
Cham,
Bring it into the NRL.
before your time, I think it was Jack Gibson used to get his kickers to place kick the
Yes.
ball. Like he used to put the ball on the ground and
They
kick for
did.
touch that way.
Yeah.
Call for sand.
Yeah. Call for sand. And that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know why. If it achieved accuracy.
are you with me? Why is there not a stat on that?
You've had better ideas.
Chammy,
It's not an idea.
oh,
It's a.
I'm
Well, it is
not. I'm
an
not
idea.
stats obsessed like you.
can
are.
you let it bed down a bit in my mind? Because
I'd like to know. I think Mitchell Moses would be number one.
of all
He
the
puts effort in.
problems in rugby league, all the problems in the world right now,
Is it gonna
Just,
cost you a lot to change that?
coming into the studio today and thinking that the amount of enthusiasm which would be expunged by your body in celebrating this idea and explaining it to us, it could power a whole suburb. I'm quite impressed
He's
how much
electric. He's
enthusiasm
electric,
you have
isn't
for
he?
this idea.
Depends how much the stats and how much power you need to power that suburb. If the stats are available,
Well, maybe we could have Mitchell Moses kicking for touch and powering wind
like
farms.
a monkey in a
Yeah.
rabbit, what's that called?
You're
A
telling the
mouse in a
story.
wheel or something, whatever they do.
Monkey
telling the story,
on a
Jamie.
bicycle. But hey, I'm with you. I agree.
You with me?
Yeah. I don't have the level of enthusiasm for the idea.
Can we
that
do
you
it for 1 week? Can we find some kid, someone
Yeah.
to just do this
Can't you do
weekend?
it?
Nah, stuff. I have to watch footy to do that. I'm just joking, by the way.
Isn't
He's
isn't
not
one of
really
your
joking.
sons a complete almanac when it
Yes.
comes to footy?
I don't know what that word is, but yes, he loves footy.
Like just sorry, not almanac, anorak. Like just loves it. Get him involved. Report back next week.
Kicks per meters to touch a meter,
You're
average
hitting
meters.
Mitchell Moses.
Yeah.
Because I hate. There's nothing more in
I know
football
what
I
you're
hate.
saying, yeah.
He's like, guy who kicks for touch and makes 3 meters. I'm like, you idiot! Just take the tap and make 10.
Yeah, Mitchell Moses did a couple of good ones in Origin.
In Origin. That's why I sat there and thought this
yeah.
rant is coming out the next time I get a chance. And hey, I'm not a Mitchell guy, but
We know.
we want him to be number 1 in that category.
We know all about that.
Got it out there, Chammy. I thought it was going to reach levels of
Hawaii.
potentially Hawaii, but here we are, kick meters. Fantastic. I wish you well.
Thank you, man.
Have a great week, Danny.
Thank you too, Adam.
You too, Chammy.
See ya, bro.
Bye.